Success does not come to those who quit. It comes to those who refuse to give up no matter how many times they are pushed down. Everyone thought he was just another dreamer. Surprised? You should be. Because every gallery slammed their doors in his face. Every single one. Can you imagine that kind of rejection? What would you do if the world laughed at your passion, tore down your dreams, and called your work worthless? Would you walk away? Or would you keep going? Even when your heart broke a little more each day. He knew the struggle all too well. A young man with nothing but a brush, a few broken colors, some torn canvases, and a heart that refused to stop beating for his art. He walked miles under the scorching sun just to submit his paintings, only to hear the same cruel words again and again. Not good enough. Try something else. Maybe art isn't for you. The sting of rejection wasn't just on the surface. It burned deep. Rejection after rejection wasn't simply about his paintings. It was about his identity, his soul, the very essence of who he was. Still, he carried on. Every night in a tiny room that smelled of turpentine and dust, he lit a single candle, mixing colors, creating strokes that no one cared to see. His neighbors often wondered why his light burned so late. They didn't know he was pouring his sleepless nights into canvases that the world might never accept. And here's the mystery. Why would someone endure so much pain for something that gave him nothing in return? The answer was simple to him. Art was not his hobby. It was his breath. Without it, he would wither. With it, even rejection could not kill him. One quote carried him through the darkest nights. He would whisper it to himself when the tears blurred his vision. The world may close its doors, but my hands will never stop painting my truth. That sentence was his shield. That belief was his fire. It was his rebellion against the world that wanted to silence him. But the conflict was brutal. His parents begged him to find a real job. His father would place newspapers on the table, pointing at employment ads. His mother cried silently, fearing he would starve. His friends mocked him openly, calling him foolish, telling him to stop wasting his life on silly drawings. Even his own reflection sometimes felt like an enemy. Standing before a cracked mirror, he would hear a whisper from within. Maybe they're right. Maybe you are wasting your life. But then his eyes would drift to the paint stains on his hands, proof of battles fought, and he knew deep down he could not stop. He chose to fight. He painted through hunger when his stomach cried louder than his brush strokes. He painted through winter nights when his fingers stiffened with cold, holding the brush as if it were the last piece of life left in him. He painted even when his canvases were nothing more than discarded cloth stretched across wooden scraps. His art was not about luxury. It was about survival. And then, one evening, without fanfare, without expectation, the transformation began. He had finished a small sketch, a simple drawing of a lonely figure sitting beneath a streetlight, shoulders bent under invisible weight. He thought nothing of it. To him, it was just another piece of himself poured out on paper. He left it behind at a cafe wall, pinned quietly, almost carelessly, as if placing a fragment of his soul into the world and walking away. A stranger noticed. That stranger snapped a picture and shared it online with a caption that read, "I don't know who made this, but I feel it." Within hours, the post gathered attention. Within days, it spread like wildfire. People who had never met him, who had never seen his face, were moved by his art. They felt his loneliness, his pain, his hunger, his passion, his truth. And then the calls began. The same galleries that once rejected him, the same curators who mocked him, the same critics who dismissed him, Suddenly, they wanted him. They begged him to display his work. They fought for the very art they once ignored. The irony was almost unbearable. The world that once rejected him now fought for a piece of him. He stood in the middle of a gallery, bright lights flooding his eyes, walls covered with his paintings. He heard applause echo through the halls, but all he could see in his mind were the nights he had cried in silence. He remembered the whispers of doubt, the hunger, the cold, the rejection, and now he stood there, not just as an artist, but as proof that persistence transforms pain into glory. Tears rolled down his face, not of weakness, but of victory. This was not luck. This was not chance. This was years of refusing to surrender. His life became the living proof of a powerful promise. Your pain today is your power tomorrow. Your rejection today is your redirection tomorrow. All it takes is one yes to erase 1,000 no's. The same hands that once knocked hopelessly on closed doors now signed autographs. The same face that once looked into a cracked mirror filled with doubt now appeared in magazines celebrated as a visionary. The same man who once carried rolled-up canvases through dusty streets was now chauffeured to events where people stood in line just to see his work. But let us never forget, the story did not begin with glory. It began with loneliness, hunger, humiliation, and tears. That is what makes victory powerful. The transformation was not overnight. It was carved slowly through struggle, sharpened by rejection, and polished by resilience. So the next time you hear rejection, remember this truth. Rejection is not the end. It is only a redirection. Do not quit. Do not stop. Keep moving forward, because your time is coming. The world may not see your value yet, but that does not mean you don't have it. You do. And when your moment arrives, they won't just accept you. They will fight for you. Believe it, live it, and never ever give up on your dream. Because one day, you will stand where he stood. You will look back at the battles, the sleepless nights, the failures, and you will smile knowing that every scar made you unbreakable. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel even a spark of courage, then let that spark grow into a fire. Somewhere deep inside, your masterpiece is waiting to be seen. Keep painting it. Keep creating it. Keep living it. And when the world finally notices, you will know it was worth every single rejection. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more stories that remind you of the power inside you.